Okay, I am Dr. Andrea Labuti, and this is the Q&A number 5 video series. I'm here with Helena. Hi, Helena.
Hi, Andy. It's wonderful to be with you.
And we are going to be doing some question and answers. Parents, just like yourself, wrote in and asked Joao some specific questions. Right now, here the soul doctor is sleeping. He may pop in, he may not, but some really good information this week. You know, why did my son become autistic and what can I do to recover him? Is my son ready to learn to read and write? Some questions about opportunities for autistic individuals to live more independently in the organizations and what those should be structured like. And also, you know, the question that we all have about our children is, will my child ever live independently? So some good topics to cover today. And I think we'll just jump right in. Does that sound good?
That sounds great, Andy. So you may get started.
Okay, perfect. So the Sure. So the first question is, why did my son become autistic and how can I recover him? So a little background, my son is 9 years old and he has autism. I want to know how he became autistic. Was there something specific that happened to him? I would like to know how to help him recover holistically. What do I need to focus on with regards to diet and holistic therapies?
The response by the soul doctor: dear mom, first of all, let me tell you that things go deeper than the mind's eye can see. Whatever could have contributed to your son's autism, whether an environmental toxin or genetic predisposition, we have to understand that there is a soul purpose and soul contracts which are made before reincarnation. We are consciousness or spiritual beings having physical experiences. So before the decision to be born on this dense earth plane, each and every soul, in order to evolve, proposes a series of experiences. And together with other souls, contracts are made for the purpose of evolution. It was so with your son, as with each and every one of us. Let me also tell you that whatever the experience a soul decides to undergo, there is always the intention of evolution and growth of all those involved. So your son as a soul agreed with those around him to come forth with autistic features for the evolution of all, including himself. Autistic individuals' recovery depends on many aspects, such as a clean diet and therapies, but also on the awakening of the souls of all those around them. Love and light, João Carlos.
So I just love reading and rereading these questions and answers because every time there's a little nugget of something else. And when I listen to this response, the first thing that I think about is a question that I've struggled with, but am starting to understand. So we all know that there's environmental triggers that cause autism. So my question was always, well, if these souls are here to show up with autistic features and incarnate in this world as an autistic person, what would have happened if I didn't do X, Y, Z? You know, whether you're talking about whatever it is that you think triggered your child's autism, whether it's a shot or something in the environment, fumigated the house, like whatever chemical or thing that you think, triggered your child's autism. So I've always struggled with, well, how do you differentiate, like, here was my healthy child, my child, for example, at 17, 18 months was very healthy. And all of a sudden, because of an environmental insult, he became autistic. And so I say, well, if he didn't have that environmental insult, would he have become autistic? And I guess the answer that I've been given by Joao and like favorite people like Susie Miller, who really is tapped into the consciousness of these kids, these environmental toxins are sort of a little bit of a hindrance for these kids that are arriving to uplift humanity. It does cause an issue. It's almost like a roadblock that gets thrown in their way because they are so highly sensitive that they are going to get injured by these things. So it's really an extra thing that makes it harder for them to do their job, if their job is to raise the awareness of humanity. So that's sort of how I understand it now, which makes sense, which is why we want to try to eliminate all of the environmental insults that our children get. So I think, and I want you to comment on all this, but I think that the hang up really is the word autism, right? Because we think of autism as challenged and injured and whatever, versus these amazing beings that are here to help us evolve. So I almost feel like we need a different word than autism. Autism is sort of the after effect of the environmental toxin, but there should be some other word for these, these new children, the new kids that are showing up, autistic, ADD, whatever, highly sensitive. So I think it's the label that has tripped me up. What do you think about all that?
Well, I would say that I totally to relate to what you said. I guess as parents, we always try to find a reason why our children became autistic. At least on my part, I also had that quest, and I did go after that answer because like your son, João, around about until the age of 2.5, he was a child which was always having a very good development, and nothing would make us foresee that he was going to be autistic. Mm-hmm. The only thing that was slow in showing up was really speech. Speech did not arise when it was supposed to. I think that there are many things. We cannot look at autism and a way of addressing autism with only one solution. I think we have to look into autism with the mind, body, and spirit perspective. Mm-hmm. There is a lot that has to be done. We do have to address the toxins and the heavy metals that these children have in their bodies. We also have to address other issues. And as João points out, besides diets, besides the therapies, and we also have to address other things, and that has also got to do with the need for parents to reconnect once again with their inner selves and inner essence. So there is a lot of work for all of us, and I guess we all agreed to all this that is happening, and this challenge, I think we have to embrace it once again, because when we embrace it, we go one step further, and I think we're closer to the solution, to the key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you say we all agreed to this, my first instinct was, oh, hell no, I didn't agree to this. But then I think, you know what? Wouldn't it be just fun to just go to the other side of the veil and see what you were really planning before you got here? Like it would, and I know that it's not set up that way, but just sometimes I just wish we could have a memory of it, even if it was just a dream or something. But yes, I do truly believe it 100% that we have soul contracts and agreements, and we eagerly come forth as, as human beings to experience and evolve and grow. It just, once we get down here, we forget and, get sidetracked with everything that's going on in the world, and sometimes it becomes hard to remember. So who better than your child to shake you out of the dream and say, hey, wake up, okay? This isn't the way it's supposed to be, right? Because parents will do anything for their children. So I think it's perfect. It is. It's perfect.
And I also think there is the need for autism, the different autism communities, which have different perspectives on addressing autism. I think it's high time we all got together, because we cannot say there is one single factor which is serving as a trigger to autism.
Yes.
I think there are multiple factors. It's not only the body which needs to be addressed. It's not only behavioral therapy which needs be addressed. It's not only the spiritual issue which has to be addressed. I think we have to look at this in a much broader and wider perspective. That's my point of view.
Absolutely. It's the whole person, the whole child. It's their physical well-being, it's their emotional and mental well-being, and the spiritual side. So what I loved about us coming together is really understanding and embracing how important that holistic viewpoint is, because, you know, again, some kids might just do really great on the physical healing modalities, but we don't have any idea what their spiritual take is. They could be really, you know, really evolved for all we know, and maybe that's why the physical thing was the thing that pushed them over into, the loss of challenges and stuff like that. So yes, very good point. All right, so let's go on to the second question. This is about a 17-year-old boy. Is my 17-year-old severely autistic son ready to learn to read and write? So a little background from this mother. My son is 17 years old. When he was 10, he was diagnosed with severe autism, and he is completely nonverbal. I would like to begin on a high note because he is indeed doing very well. He is in a home for special needs youth since 2015 and seems very happy there. He has experienced a lot of trauma due to his regressive autism and my inability to fully understand the nature of his autism. We did intensive ABA therapy for years, and all the while he regressed. It was all too much for him. My question to you is, does my son want to learn to read and write? I would like his school to try and teach him again. Do you think he is ready now?
Dear Mom, your son has indeed gone through challenging times and has indeed finally found some peace. Non-verbal autistics have very challenging missions because they are here for the awakening of humanity. Unless changes occur, first among their families, they will refuse to get grounded and communicate in a way we would like them to. In your son's case, like in so many, he will only accept reaching out if it comes out of a place of love, without instant or constant pressure, because there is a world within him ready to be shared. Blessings, João Carlos.
So the really beautiful thing that I like about this reply is the very last sentence, because there is a world within him ready to be shared. I think parents, if they were to really look at their children, especially the nonverbal kids or the minimally verbal kids, as really having this complex, intricate, amazing, philosophical, breathtaking world within them with their brains and their experiences, you know, like seeing colors out of sound and like just so many things that we can't even imagine. So if we approach them as almost in awe and wonder and, we call them special kids, but special in that way, right? Special in their difference in how they're perceiving the world. I think that is huge. I think that sentence, there's a world within him ready to be shared, and they will share it when we meet them where they want us to be. We don't have to go all the way up. We just have to make a little bit of progress to start seeing things. Would you agree?
Yes, I think that last sentence is extremely important. And once again, I think João tells us, he not only tells this mother, but he's telling us on the whole, that there is a lot in this world of this child for him to share. There is a lot of knowledge that needs to be shared. However, once again, if we take a look at the letter by the mother, she says he's severely autistic. Is he ready to learn to read or write? So once again, we're looking at it from our perspective, and we would think, okay, this teenager, the 17-year-old autistic boy or teenager, maybe he's got a disability, he hasn't got much to share, he's only 17, he hasn't learned to read or write, maybe we can't expect much from him. And the thing is, what I really want to tell parents is we have to believe and to go beyond our fear and the perspective of what the I means. That's something that João is always telling us. And I can tell you that when it came to João, when he was at school, in elementary school, he was almost 9 years old, and the teacher didn't have much expectation. The teachers didn't expect much from João, and they told me, look, this year if we manage to get João to count until 5 and to recognize the numbers from 1 to 5 and also to write João, that we would be completely
successful. Like that would be all we can expect.
Yes. And the thing is,
and how old was he?
At the meeting a few weeks ago, I had just found out that João, while I was playing around with him at home, and I was trying to get him to write capital letters and to identify the letters of the alphabet. Suddenly, my son started writing with cursive handwriting and in full sentences.
That is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And to the multiplication table. So I think it is extremely important, especially when it comes to non-verbal children. We never know what they have to share and the knowledge that they have accumulated and that they hold within themselves. So we have to be humble and not make judgments on something that we see on the outside. I guess this is the right situation for you to say, never judge a book by a cover.
Yes, absolutely.
And really, I think this is something that we should keep in mind. Every day when I look at João, I say, really, we cannot judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that your attitude had a lot to do, your belief in him had to have a lot to do with the fact that he could come out and start writing sentences, right? It's that I think he mentioned that somewhere at some point when we were discussing something. If it weren't for my mother believing that I was capable of more, then I would be, I think his word was, I'd merely be an accidental survivor on this planet or something like that. But because you believed, you didn't listen to what everybody, the doctors, the teachers were telling you, somehow you listened to your intuition and you knew that there was potential in there. So that's the point that we're really trying to make here.
Although it wasn't easy at first.
Oh, sure.
There was some judgment on my part too, and some mind chatter, because everybody kept telling me I should have low expectations in regard to my son. My heart kept telling me that there was a world within, there was much more. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, when I looked at João, I felt it in my heart, there was much more. But once again, the mind said, okay, you're
yes.
just facing it.
Yes.
You're not coming to terms with this fact. And
yes.
the thing is, maybe my heart spoke much louder, and I had the open space. I left the open space despite that, and João, he just went through that open space. He felt it, and it showed up. So I really want to tell parents, never ever give up on your child, and always listen to that nudge that you get, that feeling in your heart, even if it's not showing up. Never give up, because there is a lot, I think, that these children have to share with us.
And, you know, and I totally agree with that. And I also think that, I think it's natural for a parent like the one we were just talking about, you know, I want my child to be able to read and write, because we think that that's just a skill that they need, which they do. But the interesting thing is what you described, and I'm going to describe another parent with her 19-year-old nonverbal child. We forget that, or we don't realize that they already know how to do it, you know? So I have, I remember meeting a mom with a 19-year-old nonverbal child, a young man, and finally got into RPM and was into it for a few months. And she gave a little talk about it and said, I had no idea if my son could recognize letters, the alphabet, could add, do simple math, let alone read. It's all in there. I have no idea how he learned it. He just picked up on it, but it is all in there. So again, the focus maybe shouldn't be so much on doing this thing that we think they need to do, as much as relaxing into the possibilities, the faith and the surrender to, open up the space for whatever it is that needs to come through. Just, okay, my child has something going on in there. Someday I'm going to find out what's going on in there. Like that sort of attitude, rather than I'm going to push to make him learn how to read and write. Because I guess ultimately you could do that, but you're really going to destroy the relationship you have with your child in the process.
Yes, and you're going to push against a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
I just think that these nonverbal children, they just need to be provided with the correct or the right circumstances, so that they can really show us all the knowledge that they have been holding within themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
They feel accepted and in a safe environment. They will find an outlet in order to show, and they will want to show and share all the knowledge that they hold within themselves.
Yes, it's just a matter of a little bit of faith in them and their abilities. And again, thank goodness for Joao and the other autistic nonverbal young people that are writing about their experiences. So I think it's becoming, and it's going to become more and more accepted that, yeah, they have intelligence. They have amazing intelligence. So, all right, so let's go on to discuss opportunities for autistic adults. We have two questions here that relate sort of to this topic. So the first one is, I am creating a job training and employment organization for autistic individuals. What are your insights about this endeavor? So here's a little background. I have a 10-year-old daughter on the spectrum. She is minimally verbal and a very smart cookie. I have always wanted a productive and beautiful future for her. With the current state of the world, she will not likely have a lot of opportunity to participate and contribute to her fullest potential. I started an organization that provides job training and employment to people on the spectrum. We are moving into our workspace in June. It is an opportunity to create an innovative training and work center that can be a hub to introduce all others to our untapped and talented autistic workforce. Please send along any thoughts you have, anything at all that you think we should know or be aware of as we set out to create and develop this space. I would be grateful for your feedback and anything you would like to share with us.
Dear Mom, as you say, your daughter is a very beautiful soul who has come forth to assist humankind in its ascension process. You yourself agreed before reincarnation to assist her in reaching her fullest potential despite her challenges. You have so far come a long way in preparing a pathway to success alongside others. Your project answers the wishes of many autistic individuals and their families to be productive and included members of society. But it is important to point out that autistic individuals are very sensitive to energy and thought patterns. Therefore, it is of utter importance that you pay attention to this issue. Make sure your space is energetically clean and that everyone around takes care of having time to clean their energy fields. When it comes to doing anything with autistic individuals, there has to be trust, sensitivity, and awareness, because autism is a characteristic which empowers individuals to spot a hypocrisy and falsehood. Energy can empower when light and bright, so keep that in mind so that your daughter can then thrive. Do not exclude the energy of spaces. Blessings, João Carlos.
Yeah, so again, we go back to the environment and the people and the thought patterns of the structure and surroundings being one of the most important things. You know, we've talked about, what therapy, what school. And again, it comes down to who are the people that are around your child. And the other thing that I really liked, the point that he made about autistic people being able to spot hypocrisy and falsehood. So that's the, you can't pull the wool over their eyes kind of thing. And it's a really good thing on so many levels, because it really requires us then to be honest with ourselves and be authentic to ourselves and deal with what we're feeling without shoving things down and trying to put on a happy face if we don't really have a happy face. So I love that sentence.
Yes, sure. I think autism is really a call not only to awaken humankind, but also to call us back to the need to be authentic, Andy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think there is any other way, because these children, they are not going to play along if they do not feel that they are being accepted. They're not going to conform just because we want them to conform. We have already spoken about this in previous Q&As. And I will also think that in this answer, there are other key words, which are trust. Mm-hmm. We have to trust the process. We have to trust that they will, as soon as they feel it is the correct timing, they feel accepted, they feel that the circumstances are correct, that they are going to show and share all that they have. Sensitivity, that is something that we have to keep in mind, that these individuals are highly sensitive to not only to the food they eat, but also to the thought patterns, belief patterns. So we have to keep in mind the people that are working with them. How do these people look upon these children? What expectations they have? What's their mind chatter in regard to this child? And I also think that we have to be aware, like Joan says, the other word in this answer in regard to this mother is awareness. So trust, sensitivity, and awareness. Yes. We also spoke in previous Q&As about the need, especially when it comes to nonverbal autism, that these children are communicating with us through other cues, not necessarily through speech. Mm-hmm. So we have to be aware to all the cues that they are giving us in terms of facial expressions, skin complexion, body language, so many things that we have to keep in mind.
Yes, it's like we have to become better at recognizing non-oral communication, right, with the body language and the other things. So being just more in tune to the feeling and the the looks of what is going on with each individual. So very good. So let's go to the next question. Similar sort of topic. What are the most important aspects to include when creating an organization to serve autistic individuals with independence? I am part of an organization that was started for the purpose of creating supportive housing opportunities for young adults on the autism spectrum. As we begin developing our first project, I would greatly appreciate Joao's insights and knowledge of what services, assurances, and best practices we should incorporate into our autism community. Great question.
So the soul doctor responds, dear friend, first and foremost, thank you for your contact and the work you are doing to improve the lives of autistic individuals. When it comes to helping the autism community, certain things are important to bear in mind. One of the most important has to do with the people who are going to work there or provide assistance. How do they see, feel, and perceive autism? Is it a dead-end road or a way of perceiving the world in a different manner and raising consciousness? Then location is very important. Nature has healing and soothing aspects that cannot be disregarded. The facilities have to take into account the needs of this community with good noise-cutting infrastructures and the preoccupation to not make use of fluorescent lighting or any containing mercury. Decrease also electromagnetic frequency, because all these things interfere with the delicate bodies of autistic individuals. Make sure there is water which is clean of chemicals, and energize it with mantras and reproduce solfeggio sounds in the environment. These few actions act upon all individuals in the community, on the whole contributing to wellness and raising the vibration of space and people. Another aspect to bear in mind is the need for sunshine and sea, because of their healing properties for all. Energy healing modalities are important as well, as is a good provider of organic farming. The food and its quality is crucial, but not less are those that handle and prepare it. Animals are less evolved consciousness, but play a vital role in promoting well-being and strengthening ties between humankind and other living beings. There is much to say, but I hope to have helped in giving this short contribution. Best regards, Juan Carlos.
So, that was a really good comprehensive answer. So when you're thinking about, so this is, a housing project where maybe they can, live on their own and have their own apartments, and there probably will be support people there for whatever supports they need. But he really covered everything there, beginning as always with the people that are working there, the people that are, whether they're running it, they're the office manager, they're the one who, shows apartments or whatever it is, they absolutely have to have a belief system about autism that is not one of pity or negative or, one of these outdated modes of looking at these individuals. So I really like that he brought that up first. And then, the things that he mentioned about location, these are all so important for us to hear over and over, because it pertains not just to the location of our young adults that are going to be living independently, but also the location of our schools, our therapies. Is there opportunity to be out in nature where we live? Are you taking time to go out in nature? Electromagnetic frequencies, I don't think about that too much anymore. I actually used to. I had a biological home inspector come in and do all the radiation stuff, and it wasn't so bad, thank goodness. But so there's a lot of things to think about. Fluorescent lighting, mercury, all of that. So again, a comprehensive approach to setting up the environment for a successful endeavor.
Yes, and once again, from Juan's response, I think that autism is also an invitation for us to live more authentic lives, and also going back to simple lives and authentic. We are part of nature itself. We're part of Mother Earth. Mm-hmm. So having animals, being close to animals, being close to the sea, being close to nature, being fed on organic food, not full of pesticides, etc. I think the key here is really being authentic and living simple and authentic lives.
Absolutely. And I love the simplicity, because I think there's a sort of a little bit of a movement towards simplifying our lives, reducing clutter. There's shows on Netflix about tidying up and all these other things. And it really, just from the simple act of cleaning your own home and getting rid of things that are, material things that you're stockpiling or thinking you just get rid of all that. And it just is such a weight off your shoulders to live more simply, to just stop worrying about whatever it is that you think you need to stockpile for the future, or that it's just such a relief. It's just such a relief to think simplistically, and, the ability to go for a long walk instead of doing something related to the stockpiles of stuff that you have in your house, just freeing up time to enjoy your family, enjoy your pets, enjoy nature. Super, super important. So yeah, really good, comprehensive perspective on that.
I think in this case, we can really say that less is more.
Yeah.
So we can get a whole lot more, and these children are really asking us to go back to nature. Some of us, we've been totally removed from nature itself. We live in apartments, in concrete buildings. We work in industrial cities. So I think these children are also inviting us to live a more simple and authentic life, closer to nature, going back to nature.
Absolutely.
We are part of nature itself.
And, you know, that just gave me an idea. I just had a vision of, you know, these communities, not just for autistic individuals, but I don't know if you've heard of these communities that are, they're calling them walking communities. So they're really creating these beautiful stretches of walking pathways and trees and flowers and communities where you're not just housed up in your box of a house, but you're actually encouraged to go out and walk and be in these beautiful surroundings. And so I think people are starting to think about it. So that just sort of popped into my head as the way we should be moving. And I certainly would like to live that way. Yeah. All right. So now we have our last question, but he's got some hefty questions in here. This is a dad, actually, and Joao's response is very interesting. Ultimately, the question is, will my 15-year-old son ever live independently? That was the bottom line, what he really wanted to know, but he had some other questions. So here are several questions I hope Joao can answer about my son. He starts with, do you have any practical strategies to help my son tolerate or try Erlen glasses? We keep hearing about how energies are shifting with these kids, but when will we, who don't pick up on the energies so well, see the shift? When will we see the shift? How might we experience it? Will my son ever live independently? Does he want to go to school? Has Joao continued with seizures, or did he outgrow them? I know this particular dad, his son has seizures. Recently, a trusted source for information for me told me that where we live is driving my son crazy. She hasn't had time to elaborate, but I'm wondering if Joao can corroborate her feelings. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to up and move immediately, but if it's something we need to plan for, we'll look into it. My wife wants to know if he will independently communicate with us in a way she can understand. I think it goes without saying that he's already communicating, right? But she's more of a left brain type, so wants some evidence that he doesn't need prompting.
And Joao answered, Dear Dad, blessings from above. First of all, and most important for you to understand, is that we are a whole lot more than a physical body. And even when it comes to the physical body, there isn't a one-size-fits-all. We are all unique in some way, and so what might make a difference to one individual may not work for another. But there is another thing that comes into play, and that is your intention or belief system. That being said, whatever it may be, when it comes to healing, if there isn't a mind-body-spirit connection, results will always be far from total satisfaction. That leads me to the answer of the first question. My dear friend, what makes you think he may need Erlen glasses? Have you thought that perhaps he may not necessarily need them, and your ego is in the front seat here? I would suggest to remain calm in regards to this, and out of that place of calmness, introduce them a little at a time and without pushing. The energy of children that keep arriving on this planet is different and will continue to be so. You will only be able to see a shift when you work on yourself so that you will be a match. When it comes to energy, frequency, and vibration, like attracts like. There is no other way to go about it. As far as your son living independently, it all comes down to the appropriate conditions being secured. By that, I mean working on your belief system and raising self-awareness in order to increase your vibration and less self-sabotage. As for school, we also have to perceive what school is. Schooling serves the purpose of providing a context where an individual can acquire knowledge and construct knowledge, but it does not necessarily have to take place confined to the walls of mainstream education. This being said, your son does want to grow and share wisdom, but he is not open to shutting down in a regular state or public school, so choose wisely. When it comes to my seizures, they have come to reduce with the help of medication, which was necessary to implement because, despite them being energy activations, they were too strong and putting my body at risk. Once again, we need to find balance. So medication at times can prove helpful in protecting our body from receiving too much energy, which is difficult for it to withstand. But even in these cases, caution has to be taken so as not to shut down the individual. Your trusted friend is a great intuitive and has probably tuned into the energy of your neighborhood and the frequency of its vibration. Are the people totally rational thinkers and individualistic, valuing only the material or visible, or do they have openness to living more authentic lives? There is also the issue of electromagnetic influence, which has to be looked into. If too high the rate of electromagnetism, your son is subject to more strain on his sensitive body. Look into these issues. As for your wife, and a little on your part too, you are looking for all the answers outside yourselves, and you have come across very good pathways to help support your son. But there is a shift that is needed on your behalf, to shift from sole rational thinking to a joint collaboration between heart and mind. Your son is vibrating at the heart level, and if your mind vibrate exclusively, both your son and you won't meet changes. Autism is here to shift outdated paradigms, and every individual has free will choice. So you have to choose to grow or to remain in third dimensional thought mode. Blessings, João Carlos.
So, wow, that's just packed.
Yeah.
That is just packed. And, you know, this whole thing of vibrating at the heart level versus the mind level. I want to tell you a little story that really solidified this idea for me. When my son was, I want to say this was probably 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. So my son was probably 10 years old. And there was this, I don't want to call her a psychic medium. She was sort of like a medical intuitive. She did these sessions, sort of like psychotherapy mixed with some of the pulling in the energies of what was going on to help you align with your true self, right? To align with source. And she and I had been seeing her again 4 years ago for a couple of sessions, and we were talking about my son, and she said, you know, you should really just bring him in here. I'd love to just see what he's all about and read his energy or whatever. So I brought him into her office, and he just sort of jumped around the room, you know, and we were just sort of chatting, and she was observing him. And for maybe 45 minutes, this went on. He wasn't talking much because he doesn't speak much, especially to strangers, but he was just jumping around the room and enjoyed the space. You could tell he was happy. So we started talking after, you know, after I left and then came back and spoke to her. She said, first of all, I have never encountered another human being with such joy and freedom. Like the joy and freedom of his energy just astounded me. And she said, I'm going to describe what's going on here. So she draws 3 lines on the chalkboard. Okay. And the bottom line on the chalkboard is the live line. Okay. It's where all we people live, and it's our day-to-day stuff, the live line. Okay. Then there's the center line, which is the heart. Okay. And then the top line, which is where, you know, my son spent a lot of time. I forget what she called it, but let's just call it, you know, the higher self line. I think that's what she did call it, the higher self, the more ethereal, the more out there, the more cosmic, the bigger, more broad, whatever. So he was living here. And she said, your son has no desire to come down here to the live line, okay? But he will meet you at the heart line. So when you start moving above the live line and start getting closer to the heart line, he will start descending as you start ascending, and he will meet you there. So that whole idea of the mind, which I believe the mind chatter and all of that, that's the live line. That's the day-to-day rational stuff. The heart is the more compassionate, forgiving, loving, all is well place. And then there's this other place where they go, obviously Joao goes and is able to communicate from that realm. But I just really thought that that was a powerful way to understand what that means, you know, living in the mind on the live line versus the heart, and being able to bridge the gap, right? He talks about bridging the gap and joining hands here. That's what they're looking for.
Yes, and I also think there's an important message here when Joao mentions like attracts like. So we have to be a match to that we want to attract in our lives.
Yes.
We have to work on ourselves. If we continue to just be rational thinkers, of course, we're going to have more difficulty in being the match, the required match for these children.
Yes.
And I think from the message of this dad, there we can also make out, like so many of us, we're always looking for the answers outside of ourselves, trying to go after all the possible solutions, or what could be solutions to autism. On the perspective of the rational thinking. Does he need the Erlen glasses?
Right.
Does he need the supplements? Does he need this? Does he need that? And we go after all those things. And the thing is, while we go after, sometimes within ourselves, we do not have the space. We're just trying one more thing. But we, most of the times, or sometimes, we may not really believe that is going to be of much help. It's just, okay, I've tried so many things, why should I try this? It won't do any harm.
Right.
And maybe that isn't going to be helpful either. So once again, we have to maybe stop going chasing things, and working on ourselves and leaving these opening spaces, trusting the process, and maybe when we do this, then things will really change. And we will be able to perceive the changes in our children.
Absolutely. I think that, we keep coming back to that. And I think it's the take home message as always. And I am, I'm so grateful for all you parents that are writing in. And I want to, before we close here, I want to invite you parents to give us your questions. Okay. Send us, to email. You can email me at andylabooty@gmail.com. Give us your questions. We want to work on getting more and more answers out to more and more parents. And, I can't promise 100%, but we're reaching pretty close to 100% of responding to every parent. There may be one or two that we've missed, but just resend and we will get your questions answered. So, Joao loves doing this. We are learning as parents as we go along. So send your questions in. If you have friends that want questions answered, just keep them coming, because Helena and I and Joao, we enjoy this process. We hope it's helping you. I also want to add that Autism: A New Perspective is out on Amazon, so you can check that out. It's Autism: A New Perspective by myself and Joao Carlos, and of course Helena's input with all of the hard work she did to type up his comments. And that is really about what is in the heart and mind of our dear friend Joao. So I hope you'll tap into that. And you still have time to join the 3 free consult giveaway. The end of April, which will be April, I believe we decided April 30th, we're going to do 3 drawings for 3 free consults with myself and Joao and Helena. So all you got to do is go on over to my website, AndreaLabooty.com, and you'll find out where you can get involved in that. I think there's a pop-up and you can just put your name in and you will automatically be entered. We're collecting we're collecting all of those people, and we will be doing that drawing. So this will be a lot of fun. So thank you for being here with us again. Let us know what questions you want answered, even if it doesn't relate specifically to autism. It could be about your own self. It could be about your children, your pets, your environment, whatever. We're here to open this up because every single individual that changes and becomes more heart-centered is going to have an effect on all of us. So for now, we're calling it the Autism Love Revolution. And we're going to continue letting the soul doctor answer all your questions and be on his way to fulfilling his mission. So thank you. Thank you, Helena.
Thank you. And we would also like to thank all the wonderful messages that keep on coming in from people who listen to our Q&As, giving us wonderful feedback and how this has helped them to go over some of their belief patterns and to view their children in a different perspective. So thank you all, and it was wonderful to be with you.
Absolutely. Okay, until next time, guys, have a great couple of weeks.